Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And today we are with Bill Cates. And I know, Bill, you always like to emphasize the C because
Not
you
the
are,
G, yeah.
you are way more, have way more relevant and practical content than the other one. So
Uh,
Bill Cates is widely recognized as one of the foremost experts in the art and science of acquiring new clients through referrals and personal introductions, which I'll say that from my perspective, Bill, that is a professional speaker, that is by far the number one way to grow your businesses.
yep,
You can tell everybody how nice you are, but it's way better when other people tell you how nice you are. Talk
indeed.
about how great you are. So Bill is president of Referral Coach International, founder of the Cates Academy for Relationship Marketing, and the host of the podcast, topadvisorpodcast.com, which, by the way, is ranked number in the top 5% of all podcasts globally, which is amazing. So Bill is a best-selling author. His books include Get More Referrals Now, Don't Keep Me a Secret, Beyond
Behind.
Referrals,
Okay.
Radical Relevance, and his latest book, which we'll talk about, The Language of Referrals. Here's what I like most about Bill's work. There's a lot of marketing experts out there that talk about the importance of referrals and offer some basic strategies, right? I mean, how many times have you heard that? Oh, ask your customer. Your customers are your most valuable form of advertising, and theoretically, that's where people leave it. But what I love about Bill is he actually shows you how to make it happen, and he'll give us the principles, the strategies, and most important, the tactics. So, Bill, you're coming from us from Annapolis, Maryland, one of
Yep.
my favorite parts of the country, and welcome.
Hey, thank you. You know, when I first moved to Annapolis, people say, "Hey, Bill, where you live?" And I go, "Annapolis." They go, "Oh, I love Indianapolis."
I
Um,
love that. I love Indianapolis too. I was just there.
yeah, so now I say Annapolis, Maryland, so to kind of drive it home. This is
Yep,
not too far from where that bridge got run into the other day with
I
by
know. I
the
saw that.
that cargo ship. That's quite a tragedy. Anyway, yeah. So great to be here, Sammy.
Super. So everyone, just we'll have time for questions a little later in this session. We are recording this session, and if you'd like the slides for today's program, and I absolutely recommend that you get them. Bill will explain how to get those in a few minutes. So, Bill, another book about referrals and introductions, and I was wondering that too. I mean, you've written the Bible on referrals and introductions. So, why did you write The Language of Referrals? Does the world need another book on this?
Well, I suppose I thought it did, or I wouldn't have done it. It's been a while since I've written on referrals. My last book, Radical Relevance, was how to talk about your value
Yeah.
proposition. And so here's what I've discovered is this referral introduction stuff, it's not rocket science. It's all about confidence. And I found that one of the ways to help people gain the confidence was to give them the actual words they might use. I had a guy say, "Bill, so you're trying to put words in my mouth?" And I go, "Well, yeah, sort of." When you have the right words, or at least a template of the right words, knowing that everyone's going to kind of put their own spin, as they should, to make it natural for them, what that does is actually lead to confidence. And so a strategy, let's say asking for introductions, which a lot of people don't like to do, they don't feel confident. And then we'll get into that today. If I give them a perspective, a way to look at it, and some words to use, they go, "Oh, I never thought about saying it that way." And so all of a sudden, that language turns into confidence, which turns into actions, which turns into results. So this book, very tactical, very practical, and you'll see as we go today, this is going to be a very note-taking, tactical, practical kind of session. And hopefully will give you that confidence to take action. So yeah, another book and hopefully a good one. But
But
I'll let everyone else be the judge of that.
well, it is a good book. I really enjoyed reading it, and you're so right, Bill, because I think that a lot of this is, well, all of it's confidence. Really, I mean, first off, people like to buy from confident people, and so if you're wishy-washy asking
True.
for referrals or introductions, you really, that hurts your credibility. So,
Yep.
I know that there's a huge difference between referrals and introductions. I talk about it as strategically for my program, but I'd really like to hear it from your words. What in your words is the difference between asking for a referral and asking for an introduction?
Yeah. So a referral, the way it's typically thought about and has been for years in this industry, is kind of what they often call a referred lead. Call George, use my name.
Yep.
Well, George doesn't pick up the phone if he doesn't know who you are. He's wondering why his friend Sam gave his name out to somebody he didn't know. And we just know that um, that type of way of leading to business just doesn't work like it used to because people don't pick up the phone. So I subscribe to using the word that represents what we really want because words do matter. They do make a difference. And if we want to get connected, introduced to that prospect, which I think is what we need these days to just to be relevant in their life and to get on their radar, then let's use the word that represents that. Right. So with prospects, clients, centers of influence, anybody has the ability to connect you with someone else, use the word introductions. Today, you and I will use the word referrals a little bit interchangeably. Let's call it for internal use only, like compliance would ask you to do. But when you're out and about in the world, it's going to be about introductions.
Oh, I agree. And I think that, one of the big things that I find what happens, and I really like that you talk about the language between the difference, those words, referrals versus introductions. I know when I give somebody an introduction, so if I introduce someone to you, Bill, and I find out that the connection didn't happen, next time we talk, like 3 weeks later, I'm kind of ticked off. Like I'm emotionally invested because I made the introduction. It's like, why didn't that person call you? I will call Fred. I will call Julie. Hey, why didn't you call Bill? Or why aren't you taking Bill's call? Versus if it was a referral, that's kind of, almost like, okay, my job is done. I've wiped my hands. I've given Bill the referral. So I think that language is super important. So then why did you title this book? If introductions are more important than referrals, why'd you title the book The Language of Referrals?
That was coming. So one of the things you're going to hear me talk about today is not just the strategies and the tactics, but also the principles. And when you know the principles, it becomes easier for you to make your own decisions and you don't have to rely on anyone like us to help you. So here's a marketing principle involved that I want to make sure gets laid out to everybody. Whenever you're talking about the work you do, whenever you're messaging your value, orally, written, you always want to use words and concepts that are already in the brains of the receiver, the intended receiver. If you use a word or a concept that they don't know what you mean, if you're letting your creativity or cleverness or jargon get in the way, then that will stop them. And some people will take the effort to try to figure it out. And in some cases, when you're confusing, you're losing. So you're going to lose folks. So, by the way, if you ever use a term that you know that a good chance that a lot of the folks that are reading or listening to you won't understand, then define it right away. So like fiduciary, for instance, a lot of people still don't know really what that means. It's a word you're hearing more and more and more. But if you're going to use a word like that, then make sure you define it right away. If holistic planning is a term we're hearing a lot more these days, right? But, most people don't know what that means. They can guess. You get them thinking maybe. And if you're in a one-to-one conversation, that person might say, well, what do you mean by that? And then you can engage them. But sometimes you don't have that ability to engage, right?
Yeah.
So that's the principle at hand. So in my case, if I called it the language of introductions, people would wonder, do I know what that means? What is that? Now, it could pull some people in, but could also lose some people. So I'm using the term that everyone gets and understands what that is.
Sure.
And then in the book, I explain why we want to use the word introductions more often than the word referral. So hence a long answer to your question.
Oh, it's a marketing thing.
It is. It's a principle that we all need to be aware of and use. Yeah.
So you've divided language into referrals into 6 parts.
Correct.
Why don't you give us a little overview on each one? Let's dive a little deeper. Let's give our audience here some practical tips, ideas they can leave right after we're done here and start growing their practices.
Yep. Let's do it. So I'm going to share my slide. And for those of you on, we're going to go back and forth a little bit with some slides. There'll be a little bit of a conversation, a little bit of a presentation. So 6 strategies. It's the 6 parts of the book. First one is the inner language. I know we'll talk about that a little bit today. The self-talk that's going on that may be helping you or hurting you. around your ability to get more introductions. So we'll touch on that. The language of referability, we've got to be referable, and there are things you can do and say to increase your referability with prospects and clients and centers of influence. How do you know if you're referable? Well, everyone on this call, myself included, should be getting some unsolicited referrals, or I should say introductions, of course, right? I could have called it the right, the language of introducibility, but see that's a little weird, right? Hence why we're playing with the word with both words. The language of promoting, encouraging. I know we'll talk about that today a little bit. Just different things you can do to kind of nudge the process, and really getting more referrals or introductions is not just about asking. It is a part. It's also a culture that you build. And through becoming more referable, through promoting and introducing, we're building some of that culture of how we work with folks. The language of asking, we'll get into that. The language of objections or concerns or uncertainty on the part of folks you're asking. How do you talk to them about that? You don't want to hit them hard on this. I don't teach an aggressive approach by any stretch. And sometimes you just have to back off gracefully. But you don't want to be afraid of the concern or the resistance or the reluctance you may get. So having the right language can build the confidence to be in that space. And then finally, that language of actually turning that willingness to introduce into an actual introduction. And I suspect everybody on this call has experienced where someone gives lip service to making a connection, but it really doesn't happen. So there are things you can do and say that can first of all, increase the chances of it happening. And then if it doesn't happen, then how can you go back and chat with them about, having them do what they said they would do in an appropriate manner, in a not a pressure manner. So those are the 6 strategies in the book, and things I know that we'll be covering a little bit here today.
Yeah, I love that, your last comment. I mean, how many times have we asked someone for a referral, and I'll get back to you on that. And I always like to joke, in the history of the world, has anybody ever gotten back to anybody on that? It's just a nice thing to say. So
yeah, it's one of those. I call that a no disguised as a maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
We get those. Give me some of your cards. I'll hand them out at the appropriate time.
Yeah, we call that in Minnesota nice, or Minnesota passive aggressive.
I like that.
So I think in the book you talk a lot about the inner language, and to me that's synonymous with this. I call it a mindset, right?
Yes.
You've got to have before you ask for introductions, referrals. You've got to be comfortable doing that. Can you tell us what you mean by the inner language? Yeah.
Our self-talk. So here's what we all want, right? Everybody on this call, I don't care whether you're brand new in the business, been in the business for 20 years, 30 years like me, we all want more qualified prospects as efficiently as possible, right? Hence referral/introductions, because the straightest line to relevance with someone who doesn't know us is an introduction from someone they do know and trust. So that's why we're doing this. And please remember this, and feel free to share this with others, that cold calls are your punishment for failure to get enough referrals or introductions. So the inner language, removing the limiting beliefs, having the right thought process. There's a bunch I cover in the book. I'll cover a couple right here today with our time. One of the big ones is the lifetime value, thinking in terms of the lifetime value. This is all about, or it starts with awareness. What you put your attention on grows stronger in your life. When your awareness shifts, you see the world differently, and then you see the opportunity that's in front of you. So what I mean by the lifetime value is not just the business you can do with clients over a lifetime. As long as you stay relevant in your clients' lives and bring value, then there's business to be done, and that's great. Everybody wins. But the other part of the equation is who they can introduce you to over a lifetime. But if you're not thinking about that, if you're not figuring out how do I make that principle of lifetime value work, then you'll miss opportunities. And so there's a few questions going back to the language, things that you can do early on that can help you with this. So for instance, there we go. This is a question I suspect everybody on this call is already asking clients and prospects. I sure hope you are, right? Who are people in your life who are impacted by the financial decisions you make? This is obviously a question about context, and the more context you have about a client, the better you are able to serve them. But what also happens at the same time is you're starting to build a little bit of an inventory. My marketing gal calls it a roster of possible folks that you could be introduced to later. You don't jump on this, but this is something you're starting to pay attention to. A similar question, but a little kind of flipped. Who are the folks in your life who may be making or could be making or aren't making financial decisions that impact you? And this is where sometimes folks have to protect themselves against the bad decisions of their parents. Sometimes siblings are involved, other folks. This is a great question to give you context to serve people better. And then you may build that little bit of that inventory. Another one. Who are some folks in your life that you respect the financial decisions they've made? Maybe you've seen them retire well or whatever. This does a couple things. This, first of all, gives you a sense of this prospect's or client's perspective on proper financial planning and decisions around finances and what their values and priorities are. So that helps you serve them better. It also helps you build, again, a little bit of that inventory. And I'll share with you in a little bit how you use this inventory that you've been building, how it comes to play a little later in the conversation. So lifetime value, that's one of them. The other is, chime in.
A question on the lifetime value question, because I thought those were incredible questions. How do you have any tips or advice? I know when I ask questions like that, you are genuine and authentic in the sense that you know that the answers to these kinds of questions will be able to help you help your clients.
Yes.
Same time, we're also being self-serving here a little bit because, like you said, we're starting to build the inventory. Should these questions, do you try to weave them in naturally throughout a conversation, or do you recommend having a defined, for lack of a better term, section of your agenda, your client meeting agenda, where you're asking these?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think for these three questions specifically that I just presented, I think they should be part of a very well-defined process. And you let your client know, look, the better sense I have of you, the more I know about you and certain priorities and other people in your life. You could say this, I can't do the work I do for you to the level of quality that I want to do in a vacuum. You will be making financial decisions that impact other people. There are other people in your life that are making financial decisions that are impacting you. And so I have a set of questions to help me gain more context. And the more context I have, the better I can serve you. And we know this is the truth, right?
Yeah.
And so whether you even think about the possibility of building that roster or inventory of folks that you might get introduced to later, that almost doesn't matter at this point. At this point, you really are just trying to be better at the work you do. It's kind of a side benefit, but we're not doing it just for that. I'll give you another example. Are you involved in any kind of community service or philanthropic activity?
Sure.
Right. So obviously, as a financial planner, financial professional, I want to know that because that can dictate and inform certain financial decisions. And I also know that could be a place to explore possible introductions down the road, or maybe even a presentation opportunity, right? So it's got to start really with you doing a great job and bringing great value and asking all the right questions and gaining the context that's going to help you be the best at what you do. And yet there is also a side benefit, which actually, so it's kind of two things, a parallel thought process, which actually brings me to the next item, because this is also a parallel thought process going on in playing pool. If you played pool, you know what I'm talking about. You got the cue ball, the four ball, the side pocket. You're aiming the cue ball to hit the four ball in the side pocket, trying to make the shot, right? But you're also trying to do something else. There's that parallel thought process, which is, where am I going to leave the cue ball? In pool, they call it the leave. And so I think that needs to be our attitude towards client acquisition, meaning we bring a prospect into our life, however we do it. They become a client. That's a win-win. Everybody's getting value out of that. But if we don't have a process to leverage that, then where's the next client going to come from? I can tell you, wishing and hoping is not a good plan. And I know that for some folks, we need to turn that referral or introduction wishbone into a referral backbone. But when we have a process in place, and some of that will come out today for sure, then exponential growth is possible. Part of the mindset is if I serve the heck out of my clients, if I bring great value, if I do a great job, great experiences, some of those folks will just naturally want to introduce me to others. And that's true, and that's great, and those count as long as the quantity quality is in the right track for you. However, if we want to create more exponential growth, faster growth, then we have to have that level of proactivity, which that's what makes people a little nervous, and we'll get into that today. But those are a couple of the mindsets. Real quick before I go back to, I know you have some more questions. This is free to everybody. So go to fearlessreferrals.com, or if you have your camera handy, you just do a QR code or do a screenshot and look at it later. But these are obviously I can't count, 4 one-sheets of added value that you can get from today's call. No gimmicks, they're free. Just go get them, fearlessreferrals.com. So with that, let me turn it back over to you and what's next.
Yeah, I thank you so much, Bill. And I think it was so important what you said about really making it a process, because one of the things that I was thinking of is how do you do this when you're meeting regularly? Some of you might be meeting quarterly, annually with your clients. If it's a regular part, like you're always asking these questions, then I think it feels a lot less salesy, because every one of the questions you ask are things that can change over a quarter and certainly over a year. Who's impacting your financials? Who are you impacting? Nonprofits and those things. So I love that you embed it as part of your process, then it starts to become expected. All right, so would you agree that most advisors aren't as proactive as they could be or want to be? And if you do agree, why is that, and how can they fix it?
Yeah, hence why I'm in business. By the way, Becca just sent a message that the QR code wasn't working. I apologize for that, Becca. I'll have to check into that, obviously, but fearlessreferrals.com will take you there. At least it should, better. Yeah, so as I mentioned, it's all about confidence, and having the right words, the right process will lead to confidence. There's another element here, which is practice. And I joke that a lot of financial professionals, they'll practice their golf game a whole lot more than they ever practice their profession. So here's my little formula for building the confidence needed to actually become proactive. And it's really as simple as this. Find a process, learn a process. You're getting one here today. I've been teaching this for 30 years. We know it works. Okay. And whether it's mine or someone else's, find a process we know works, and then practice it. Practice with a colleague, practice with friends, family, whatever. There's even some things you can practice with your clients. And then that's what leads to action, and that's what leads to the results that you want. So it's the right process. It's practicing that process, and that builds the confidence. And one other thing I would say is support or accountability, meaning find someone in your life who supports you, cheers for you, and is willing to hold your feet to the fire and something that you want to do. Because if you may want to do it, but if there's that little doubt or fear, uncertainty, then you won't do it.
Yep. So I know in going through the book, you said that part 3 of Language of Referrals is really promoting introductions, and part 4 is asking for introductions. So promoting introductions, asking for introductions. What's the difference between the two? And why is this magical language that works?
Yeah, good way to say it. All right, well, let me share some slides then, and I'll get into promoting and asking. And by the way, if you want to get the slides, send an email to me, but just put Sam or Sam Richter in the subject line, so I know it's this presentation that I'm doing for you right now.
Not Sam Richter owes me money, but just Sam Richter.
Yeah, and if you know Sam, you got his email address, but don't send it to Sam looking for the slide. Send it to me. Just put that in the subject line. I'll repeat this slide later, so I'll remind you if you missed it. Bill Cates at referralcoach.com. Yeah, so let's talk about the language of promoting. Sometimes I call it planting seeds, because there's things you can do early and often throughout a relationship in some cases. And that's the culture building that we're talking about here. And it's important that every one of your clients, or at least your B plus, A minus, A plus clients, any clients you want to replicate, multiply, it's important that all of those people know that you're taking on more clients. I was coaching someone last week, and she said to me, she says, Bill, I think I heard something from a client that you would suggest I shouldn't be hearing. And I said, what's that? She says, well, I had a client, a really good client, say, Laura, are you still taking on new clients? And of course I am. And, I'm not getting the right message out. Right. And there's a way to do this without being obnoxious, right? Which we don't want to do either. So this is what I've been teaching.
And Bill, too, on that end, a way to do it without obnoxious. I'm also curious if you can weave this in, a way to do it that, what's the benefit? So if I'm your client, Bill, I'm your financial advisor client, what's the benefit of me for you getting new clients? I'd love to hear that. Sorry to interrupt, but it just kind of popped in my mind when you were talking about
that's good. Well, the benefit to you is really, and this may sound funny, but the benefit to you is to help people that you care about. That really is the benefit.
Yeah.
When I provide value to you, education, good questions, get you thinking in different ways, get a plan in place, taking the action, starting to, reap the results of that. A lot of folks, not everybody, but a lot of folks just naturally want others in their life to be aware of that possibility. And so you can actually make this introduction stuff a little bit of a part of the service that you provide people. So I'll give you one of the slides in a second. The first one I just want to hit real quick, and I'll get back to that question, is because the slides are in a certain order. I've been teaching this for a long time, and it's, don't keep me a secret, right? Someone says, hey, this is great. Appreciate what you're doing. Thanks for getting us focused on this. Any of the ways people acknowledge the value, simple, fun little thing you can say, hey, great, please, don't keep this important work a secret, right? Glad you're seeing the importance of what we do here. There's so many people out there that aren't doing this work, that were stuck kind of like you admitted you were for a while. And so it's important we don't keep this a secret, and we bring this important work. So all of this, Sam, has to be coming from that mission of believing in your value. It's got to come from that place, a true honest place. It can't just be pure, help me meet more people.
Yeah.
Right. It's got to be spread the value. So here's one that kind of answers your question a little bit. I'm never too busy to see if I can be a resource for other people you care about, or for your friends, family, colleagues, whatever words you want to use exactly. But notice, since we're talking about language, the words to see. If you're brand new in this business, you can take those words out. You can say never too busy to be a resource, never too busy to work with, to talk to help, right? Because if they fog a mirror, you got to talk to them at this point when you're new in your career. But many of you aren't new. You're looking for the right types of folks. So you're never too busy to see if you can be a resource. And so this lets your clients and any introducer know that some people are the right match. Sometimes you're the right person for them. Sometimes you're not. But you're never too busy to have that conversation to see if it makes sense for that. And so I've had some advisors over the years I've heard use the language, Sam, one of the things that I offer to my clients, one of the services, if you will, that I offer to my clients is to take a look at other folks that you care about situation. Could be your parents, could be your adult children, could be siblings, but I'm never too busy to see if it makes sense. Right. So hopefully that answers the question a little bit.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. This is a big one. All right. So I'm going to focus on this a minute here. Two of the main reasons why people don't participate in the process of creating introductions is they're concerned about a confidentiality, and if they don't know what it's going to look like, if they don't know how you would process that person that they suggest you contact, it's an unknown, and therefore it's a perceived risk. And so they won't go there. Now, some people like you, trust you, they know it'll be fine, or they met you through referral and they know what it was like. But a lot of folks, they just don't put two and two together. So it's a risk. So let me model it for you here. It's in the book. You can also get the slides and the recording. I know you'll send out to people too. So you'll hear me do it again. So lots of ways to pick this up. But it goes like this. Sam, something I want to just let you know real quick. A lot of our clients like to introduce the work we do to other people that they, think might benefit from it. And should that ever come up for you, I'd like you to know how we'd handle it, what it would look like, so you'd feel comfortable. First of all, the work we do is completely confidential. They will never learn about your financial situation from me, and vice versa. Even with friends, family, we can't cross that line. Second of all, we handle this sort of thing with great care, meaning I'm not going to just get a name and a number and call someone and make them wonder why Sam gave their number out to this guy they don't know. Right? You and I'll talk, and we'll figure out what is the best way for you to connect me with them. We'll craft an introduction that feels comfortable to you, and we know will feel comfortable to them. And I suppose if we're lucky, we'll at least spark their interest in having one call with me. How's that sound? And of course, that's an easy yes for you because I'm not really asking for anyone specifically. I'm just educating all my clients, or at least the ones I want to replicate, in what it would look like. Please don't make the mistake of not letting your clients know that you are open for business, so to speak, and that you're very careful how you handle this sort of thing. I foreshadowed the fact that it's going to be a careful introduction, right? I'm dissuading them of any mistaken assumptions they may have on what it would look like. Now, here's what happens when you plant these seeds like this and you promote these, and I think I got 11 in the book. Sometimes it just plants a seed. It just does its intended work. Don't be surprised if sometimes it actually turns into an opportunity right on the spot. I've seen it many, many times,
Sure.
even with advisors saying, don't keep me a secret. It sparks something, or this one sparks something. So be prepared for it. And these also act as a bit of a barometer. You've heard the term trial close, right? It's kind of a barometer on someone else's perspective around this. So some clients will say, great, yeah, definitely won't keep you a secret, or yeah, I appreciate that. Now I know, thank you. If it comes up in conversation, I will definitely feel comfortable. Others might say, well, we are pretty private, so I'm not sure that will ever happen, but, I appreciate that.
Mhm.
So now you've gotten a gauge on what is their relationship to this idea of making introductions. And that'll help you determine whether you ask next time you meet, or maybe you wait a little bit longer around how you do that. So it helps with the timing as well.
Yeah, and I also like how, especially when it's tied into that earlier language that you were sharing, related to, hey, do you know anybody else that might need my help? I mean, especially as we get older, we all can think of young people that maybe are about to get married, or we think of elderly people. Are they getting the help we need? And then because you painted that picture in my mind when you asked that, when I say to you, yeah, in fact, Bill, I've got a relative, I've got an aunt who could really use some help on, should she sell her car and move down to Florida, or sell her house, move down to Florida, or does she want to stay here? And then you can say, and then you can go into that next language about here's how I would present myself. It's very confidential, those kinds of things. So I like how natural that sounds, and it's really, and again, you have to be genuine. You have to be authentic. People can pick up on if you're doing this just to get a new client. But if you do have that heart of giving, and the other person can pick up on that, I think this flows so much more naturally than the referrals.
Yep. So let's get into the actual asking.
Yeah.
We don't want to confuse the promoting with asking. And this is usually a video that's, for whatever reason, isn't playing in Zoom at the moment, but it's a guy bashing through the bricks. Oh, there he goes a little bit. All right. So the goal is, of course, to not look like this creepy referral guy.
Mm-hmm.
When people call me for potential coaching, they'll say, Bill, I don't want to look like the creepy referral guy, cheesy referral guy, or sleazy referral guy. And I've heard all three over the years multiple times. All right. So here's one thing I know. Everyone on this call is smart and confident. I know that, right? You wouldn't be in this business if you weren't smart and confident. But what I also know is most of these smart and confident people turn into a bowl of quivering jello. This is usually a video of a jello wiggling. All that confidence goes out the window. So what we need to do is flip a switch in the brain. For a lot of folks, sometimes it's just a blinding flash of the obvious even. And By the way, it took me a game watching the Washington Commanders and the Los Angeles Rams. Had to figure out to do that switch in PowerPoint. So Becca was talking about she's friends of Al. I interviewed Al for my podcast. All these interviews, these podcasts is free if you're interested. A lot of best practices and great stories coming out of these. When I met Al, he had about 300 million under management, doing pretty well by anyone's standards. Now he's over $1 billion. And one of the things he attributes that is that switch in the brain, realizing that he didn't have to make it the old way, how I get paid in 2 ways or 3 ways, or I'm trying to build my business. I can use your help, please. He makes it about paying the value forward. Right? He realized he can make it all about bringing the value to others, which goes back to your question a little bit earlier. And what a difference it's made for him. And so for him, it was just that simple little switch in the brain, flipping from one side to the other. And he realized that's the power of a mindset and the shift and the awareness. So here's the wrong way to ask. All right. We've all fallen trapped to this. I've fallen in this trap. Who do you know should know about the work we do? Or can you think of anyone else who might benefit from the work we do? All right, I suppose that's better than nothing, and lightning can strike from time to time. But it really is a weak way, and most people have done this, and it's fizzled, right? All right, so what's a better way? Well, think in terms of a target, and the bullseye on that target is specific people you know they know. Any good financial professional doing their job well, you can't even emerge from the first meeting hardly without knowing other people in your clients' lives, right? If you're doing the work right, then you're going to get to know other people in their lives. Witness the questions I shared at the very beginning of this webinar, right? Other people in their life who are affected by decisions, who are making decisions that might affect you, etc. So paying attention, being curious when people talk about going on vacations with friends or neighbors or whatever, genuinely curious. And then that will feed you with the bullseye. And that's the easiest, most confident, usually most productive place to go. Followed up by something very close to the bullseye. I could try to put this closer on the target. And that is the classic life events, money in motion events. Everybody in this call has heard about these. You know about these. They've been around forever and they still work. And here's why. If you think about the clients that you have in your book of business, I would wager that most of them, 70, 80% perhaps, came to you or their radar was in tune to working with you because something was going on in their life, something where they knew it was impacted by money. Maybe they were selling a beach property and they wondered, should I do it now? What do I do with that money? Do I invest in something else? Right? They just know they needed a financial professional. And so, therefore, one of the best ways to ask is to bring these categories to the fore. And I'll model this for you. Let me just share the categories. This is one reason you want to get the slides, because I've listed a lot of life events. And I do recommend that you take these and you put these in a one sheet that, in fact, I'll tell you what I'll do. When I send the slides to you, I've created a little bit of a one sheet. You're going to want to change it, make it look right for you. But it does list all of these things that I'm listing right here on the slides. And so it'll go something like this. Sam, I'm glad you're seeing the value in the work we're doing. And I was hoping we could put our heads together for a minute and see if we could identify a few folks that you think should at least be aware of the work I do. I actually have a few ideas I'd like to run by you, some categories of people we do some particularly good work for. In fact, you're in one of those categories. Oh, what category am I in? Well, are you open to exploring? Yeah, sure. Right. So you can actually create some lightness and fun around this. I could say, you mentioned a couple of people last time we got together. Can I run it by just to see if you might be, open to introducing me, assuming we come up with a great approach? Mm-hmm. And so that's what that looks like. So if you want to get that list that I just gave you there, make sure you send an email to me, BillCates@referralcoach.com. Put Sam Richter, Sam Slides, whatever, Sammy the Mammy in there. And I'll get that list to you as well. But that's what that sounds like. And though that specific people or the categories, money in motion, those are probably the two best places to ask, and you're going to be most productive. Now, you can get creative with LinkedIn and other directories and other creative ideas. Not against them. We're moving out from the bullseye a little bit, so they're usually not quite as effective. Sam, I sometimes make the joke that the people making money on LinkedIn are the people teaching you how to make money on LinkedIn. But there are people that are actually doing very well. In fact, I recommend you go to my podcast, topadvisorpodcast.com, and listen to Mondo Salavante III is one of my more recent interviews. He's an advisor doing really well with LinkedIn. He's doing all the right principles and strategies and tactics. So yeah, it can work, but we are moving out of from the bullseye a little bit. And look, you can open it up to the universe. You can say, that's just a couple ideas I had, a couple of folks, couple categories. Anybody come to mind? Anybody you think should know? Because you may think of someone that didn't fit into what I suggested. You just don't want to start there. You don't want to start with the whole universe. And here's the principle at play. Let me give you the principle, because the principle is important. The principle is that we're trying to narrow the focus so that person we're talking to, prospect, client, center of influence, will start to picture people in their mind's eye. And when they picture people in their mind's eye, they're more likely to bring them forward to the conversation. And so the narrower we are in this request, then the more likely we are actually going to get them to do that. So that's the essence of the ask.
I love that, Bill. And as you know, this is why we've shared the stage so many times together, is because in my work, I teach how to, at all of those points, how can you find that information before you even walk in the room, right?
Exactly.
It's easy to look, okay, your clients on this nonprofit board of directors. See who else is on that nonprofit. Oh, Julie Smith is on that nonprofit board. Didn't she just sell her company? That's a money in motion activity, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
How do you find your neighbors?
Your Intel engine is perfect for some of this. Some of the things that they can find, when they can find money is in motion, or they're changing jobs, right, et cetera. I know that all your stuff fits that perfectly.
Or even just knowing, again, using your language, you could go in and working with a multi-million-dollar client, you can assume their neighbors are also at least in that range. Do you go in and say, hi, I could sure use an introduction to some of your neighbors? No, that's not going to happen. But if you walk in and you say, I was doing a little research and I see that you're one of your neighbors is Julie and Joe Johnson. And I know Julie is CEO of Widget Corporation and Joe is an orthopedic surgeon. How well do you know? You're going to have better language than I am, but being able to come to somebody with a name versus winging it, I think, is so much more powerful.
Right.
So, talk to us about how do you have fun with this? How can you really turn this into a process? Any examples on that at all?
Yeah, and let me share some slides. And before I get to that, I've seen a couple emails come through of how do we get this thing in the first place?
Yep.
First of all, I hope this QR code works, but it's languageofreferrals.com. There's a quick video and just directs you to Amazon and whatnot. And it's available in paperback and Audible and ebook. One thing, it's more than a book, though. I just want to let people know that in addition to the book, you also will gain access to the Language of Referrals toolkit. And it's no extra charge. You buy the book, you get access to this. I wanted this book to be accessible. I didn't want it to be too big, because if it was too big, people think, I may get around to it someday, right? I wanted people to be able to read it on a 2-hour flight or whatever. And it becomes a reference guide as well. But there's so much more that I wanted to put in the book, but I didn't want the book to be so big. So I put it into the Language of Referrals toolkit. So once you get the book, there's a couple pages in there. I'll show you how to access that, and you get a lot more. All right. So with that said, let's talk about fun. Yeah. If you can have fun with this, everything gets easier. And it may fit your personality. It may not. It may depend on who you're talking to. But let me just give you a few things I've seen out there. Specific language, by the way. So Art is a financial professional in the Baltimore area. And he's a fun guy, and people like having fun with Art. That's kind of personality. So when he's asking for introductions, he's saying, we're just brainstorming here. I'm looking for about 100 people. And they go, 100 people? Art, please tell me you're kidding. You got to be kidding. I mean, we only had 60 at our wedding. We didn't even know 100 people. Yeah, Too many, I know. I'm just having a little fun. How about 3 or 4? Oh, yeah, that we can do. Right. So it's like, now I was teaching this to a group once, and I had a gal come back to me and she says, Bill, I tried it, but it didn't really work. And I said, well, what did you say? I said, well, I'm looking for about 20. I said, no, it can't be 20 because 20 sounds too like you might mean it. You got to go 50 or 100. It's got to be ridiculous to make it fun. Otherwise, you're going to confuse them a little bit and they think you're being serious. Doug is a financial professional, financial advisor in Omaha. Doug has fun with this. He says, we're just exploring, brainstorm a little bit here. First and foremost, do you know any lottery winners? And his clients laugh and they go, no, Doug, we don't know any lottery winners, but that was our financial plan until we met you. Yeah, I know. And keep playing. It's okay. I'll help you when you win. But in the meantime, I got a few other ideas I want to brainstorm with you. Right. And then one last, and if you're using Sam's Intel engine, if you're using LinkedIn, if you look at the board, they're on the board of directors of their industry association, any place where you might come up with a list of folks, and you want to present this to your prospect or client or center of influence and say, look, I've identified some folks. I know you know these people. I think there's a good chance I could be a great resource for them. Gosh, if you were me, who would you avoid at all costs? And if you're in person with them, they're going to rip that piece of paper out of your hand and say, I'll tell you who to avoid. Yeah. And I'll tell you who you should talk to as well. So ways to have fun just makes everything just a whole lot easier.
Yeah, Bill, I love that last one, because I use your techniques to help grow my speaking business, right? You're done. You get a great review from the event planner, the CEO, the sales VP. And I'll go in and I'll say, I know that you used to work at this company, or I see that you're on the board with this, do you know so-and-so? Do you know so-and-so? I love that. I might have to try that, Bill. Here's a list of people I know who could hire me. Is there anybody you recommend in here that I just don't talk to?
Yeah. Who should I avoid at all costs? Yeah. Or
I love that.
Yeah. Hey, I saw a question come in from Derek about the, does the auto, well, two questions real quick. And I know you got one for me. The episode I was talking about that Mondo Salavante is topadvisorpodcast.com. Or if you go to Top Advisor Episodes, you get kind of a tighter list, topadvisorepisodes.com. And it's episode number 59 is the one that I was referring to. And then, yes, if you get the Audible, when you listen to the Audible, I will tell you how to get the Radical Relevance Toolkit in the Audible. So,
okay, Bill, I'm having way too much fun with you here, but there's the guts of this thing is, in part 5 of your book, you provide this formula of a sample language for really dealing with the reluctance that people have, that, some clients have related to being asked for referrals or making introductions. We don't have time for the full formula, but can you just kind of hit the highlights of what do you got here for people who are reluctant to this?
Yes. So let's start with the principle. The principle here, and this is, by the way, for any resistance you ever get from any idea to anyone. That's pretty inclusive.
I got to listen to this. This is
right.
Half of my life.
Married, in a partnership, children, except for teenagers. Because when it comes to teenagers, there's nothing that good, solid reasoning won't aggravate further. Beyond that, though, the principle at hand is whatever concern, resistance, reluctance is, we first need to understand. We need to understand the reluctance, the resistance. Some people call it the objection behind the objection, the reason for the objection. Someone says, I'm not sure. I don't really like to give referrals. That's fine. I know some people don't. Can you tell me more? Have you had a bad experience? Tell me more. I have a section in the book at the end, power phrases, and that's one of them. Tell me more. Because if you say that to anybody about anything in any conversation, what are they going to do? They're going to tell you more, right? And so you're learning and you're earning the right to possibly share your perspective. Now, it's possible that they mistakenly think that if they create introductions, referrals, that you're just going to get a phone number, call their friends and bug them and make them look bad. Well, you're not going to do that. At least hopefully you're not going to do that. And so all you got to do is correct their perspective and say, well, what if you could talk to them first or introduce me with an email so they hear from you? Oh, I never thought about that. Right. So sometimes you can reframe their thinking and sometimes you have to back off. Mm-hmm. And the back off goes as simple as this. Sam, that's fine. I understand your reluctance. I just wanted you to know that I'm never too busy to see if I can be a resource for other people you care about. Fair enough? And you'll go, fair enough. And then you're done.
Mhm.
I call it, a friend of mine, Barry Alberstein, calls it the graceful exit. I call it the emergency exit because I like to have a little fun. But that's the essence. The key is not to be afraid of the possible uncertainty on the part of your folks. I can guarantee, I stake my reputation on this, that if you follow the process that I teach, you will never, ever, 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 ever hurt a relationship. The worst thing that happens is you've planted the seed for
Mhm.
possible down the road.
Yeah, for sure. And don't we all want, Bill? I mean, it's that kind of that joke. You're out on the golf course, and someone says, I'm having a problem with. You want your clients to be able to say, I've got a person.
Yep.
I got somebody for you.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
the ultimate. And like you said, so you might not get that introduction in your client meeting, but by planting that seed that you're available to help, I think it's great. I mean, it's kind of like it's a little bit of marketing, a little bit of branding.
Right.
Part 6 of the book talks about the language of referrals, really focusing on turning a client's willingness to refer into really an effective introduction. So what are the elements of an effective introduction, and some of the language that you coach people on for those elements?
Yeah. And this is so important. We could spend an hour on this one, but let me give you some good ideas that you can walk away with. So just like the Food and Drug Administration, when it's approving a drug for the market, they want that drug to be safe and effective. That's what we want. Introductions, that's what our clients want. Safe. They want to feel comfortable. It feels okay. And it's effective. It's relevant to that prospect to whom they're introducing us. And so the good news with referrals introductions is you have someone who knows something about this person that can help you create a very relevant introduction. So real quick on types of introductions, there are a lot of ways to do this. I just wanted to hit them real quick. In person is without question for most cases is the best way to get introduced. Two caveats. One, you may have a practice where that just isn't practical. Or if the logistics of making that in-person introduction are difficult, then it's going to slow the momentum down. Then it's not good, right? If it's easy to make, great. If it's not easy, then just move on to some other strategy. Three-way Zoom is great. Here's where the three-way Zoom works the best. Let's say, Sam, you have a friend that should know about the work I do. They should know. You've talked to them. They're interested, right? So you want to make the introduction. That person wants to be introduced, right? They're ready to hear from me. A three-way Zoom makes a great way of getting introduced. It doesn't work well if you don't have a super duper strong relationship with that person, or you're not sure they're interested. But once you know there's interest there, it's a really great way. I don't like to get into texting too much because there's so much compliance around that. And everybody's got different rules they have to follow. I generally try to get off texting as quickly as possible, but I'm an old fogey. So, if my daughter was doing it, she'd probably want to stay on texting. I love the email handshake, where it says, Sam, meet Laura, Laura, meet Sam. Here's why I'm introducing the two of you. That produces a really good result. And so the prospect is hearing from the person they know first from the email. So it's warmed up a little bit in that sense. And then they're hearing from the advisor. So it protects relationships a little bit. So here's some questions, some language. If it's not obvious, how do you know them? Why did you think of them? All right. If it's not obvious, then what we're trying to do is gain context here, right? To create the right type of introduction. This is a big question. What's going on in their life that's important to them? His life, her life, their business could be. And that money intersects all aspects of one's life. So whatever's going on in their life that's important, that could be the reason for the introduction and the follow-up that you provide. This is what creates the relevance of the introduction. How do you think they might react to this, right? Is this something you talk about? Have you talked about this topic before? Again, we're just trying to gain information to create the best possible safe and effective introduction. This is one I love. What's something you like or admire? Tell me something you like or admire or respect about them. sometimes you find out things you have in common, which is great. Sometimes you find some fun things. I was asking a gal once, I said, so tell me something you like or, admire about your brother. And she goes, my brother? And I go, yeah, there must be something you like about my brother. Well, I did send him a pillow once, and it said it was embroidered on it. I smile because you're my brother. I laugh because there's nothing you can do about it. Right. So again, you can have some fun. And then she turned to some really nice things she admired about her. But so that's a language around the introduction. Here's as we wrap this up. Here's and we see if we got any questions coming. Here's your mantra, your daily awareness builder, if you will. Wake up in the morning and say to yourself, "Who will I be introduced to today?" If that's your awareness, what you put your awareness on goes stronger in your life. Keeping the score raises the score, all the different things of how your awareness can produce the results you want. And that's kind of what I wanted to end up with. So we can look and see if you or anyone else has any more questions in the last couple of minutes.
I see that Dave has had his hand up for a while, so I apologize, Dave. I'm going to click the allowed to talk button. So Dave, feel free to ask a question.
He may be asleep by now.
I don't know.
Hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Dave.
Yes.
Okay. I guess I had my hand up earlier on, and I don't remember why, but Bill, this has been very, very good information. We do a lot of, we're one of those LinkedIn prospecting referral introductions. What is the best way, to ask a referral partner like a CPA or a financial planner? We identified 5, 8, 10, 5,000 people that we think we could help. What's the best way to ask that CPA?
Yeah. And these are people you identified from their LinkedIn profile?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, okay. So a lot of advisors are afraid to do this. They're afraid they're going to make it seem like, they were stalking the CPA or client or whoever you're bringing this up to. And first of all, I want to dissuade you of that, because if they have a LinkedIn profile, they know people can see it. All right. So I found one of the best ways to do this, Dave, is actually to have a little fun with it. And I talked earlier about when you have fun with these things, it kind of just takes any possible awkwardness or tension out of it. And so I would say something like this, Dave, I noticed that we're connected on LinkedIn. I'm curious, are you using LinkedIn much? And you might say, well, yeah, we use it for recruiting, or not really. My marketing person said I should have a profile, so I do. Right? Any number of answers, it almost doesn't matter. And then you say, well, we're trying to use it a little bit. And if you felt like anyone was like looking over your shoulder or stalking you yesterday, that was me. And identified a few folks that, from what I can tell, it seems like you may know them. I think it's a good chance we could be a good resource for them. Can I just run it by and see if there's anyone there you think you might feel comfortable introducing me to? Or you could take some language from what I said earlier and say, when I share the list, first of all, tell me who I should, avoid at all costs. So again, you could add that fun there. But you really just want to be very transparent. And, I identified a few folks. From what I can tell, you have a good connection with them. I don't know for sure. The whole principle here, Dave, and this is any kind of ask, whether it's using LinkedIn or not, it is no pressure. It's brainstorming. It's, putting our heads together and just putting a little attention on it, see if it makes sense. Now, I found with LinkedIn, because we know that a lot of people are connected with people they don't really know. One of the ways to increase the odds is to look at who's been recommending them. If you look down below on their profile at the bottom right, who's endorsed them and who's recommended them for certain things. Good chance those people know that person and vice versa. Or also, target markets within specific industries tend to be tighter. And so they know those people a little bit better. So I hope that helps a little bit, at least.
Yeah. So just so for timeliness purposes, Bill, I'm fine staying as long as people want and asking questions, but I do know we're at the top of the hour here. Maybe if some people need to drop off to another meeting, can you quickly tell everybody again how to get the resources, and more important, how to get the book?
Yeah, thank you. So languageofreferrals.com. That's quick little video. You don't have to watch the video if you don't want to. There's a link to the Amazon, or you just go straight to Amazon and look up, Language of Referrals by Bill Cates or Language of Referrals. It should be there by now. And then whether you get the Kindle or the Audible or the paperback, it'll show you how to get to the Language of Referrals toolkit. And let me know if you get it. Let me know what questions you have. I'm pretty accessible. You shoot me an email, I will respond. And I'm also going to get the slides out to everybody who requested. And I just did check my inbox, and there's a bunch of folks who have. So thank you. And I'll get those out to you. No gimmicks, not really. I'm just trying to sell you on the ideas and using ideas. And yeah, I guess I'm trying to sell you on the book. Okay, that's fine. I need to make a living too. But I really do believe that you'll find it helpful. And my mantra, if you will, I've got two that I go by. And one of them I learned from a mutual colleague of ours, Sam, and him, Rory Vaden.
Yeah.
Rory says, save your best for first. And I just love that, because everyone on this call, we're all in the kind of the knowledge business, aren't we, in different ways. And when you give your best first and you help people as quickly as possible with some what you believe to be good, relevant information, then usually they're going to be interested in more. And that's why I do things like this, right? And then the other is money follows value. When we lead with value, when we provide a valuable experience and valuable information, and valuable means that they can actually use it and create value for themselves, then we know the money follows. So, yeah. I don't see any other questions coming up, but go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you said the magic word to me, and that's the word relevance. And I remember when you came out with radical relevance, I'm like, okay, Bill, that's the title I want for my program. It's beautiful, because obviously with the Intel engine and the things that I teach in my programs, it's how to find the information so you can be relevant. But just share some of the folks that I've coached with relevance and combining relevance with what you've talked about today, using the Intel engine to find out people at so for example, one of the fields in the Intel engine, find people who've worked at a company for a long time, because they're probably going to have a money in motion activity, stock options, those sorts of things.
Yes.
Once you get that client, find the other people at that organization that have also been there for a long time. The likelihood they know each other. Find people who you went to college with at the same time. All of those parts of being relevant. And I think when you again, old way of doing things. Hi, do you know anybody that could possibly work with me? New way of doing things. Say, we've been working together for a while, as you know, that I've come pretty adept at figuring out Widget Corporation's retirement program. I saw that Julie Jones has also been with Widget for what looks like more than 30 years. How well do you know Julie? Right? And so asking for those kinds of referrals. One question I did want to ask, related to email referrals, I think you called it passing what was the language, but when do you ever write the email? So if I wanted you to make a referral, do I say, Bill, here's an email you can forward to your clients?
Right. Yes. So what I recommend is creating a template and of what an email introduction might look like, what you might like them to say about you and what they could say about the other person, and knowing that the words are going to change. So I would say, to give you the language a little bit, I'd say, Sam, I love the idea that you're willing to introduce me to George and Martha. And, if they hear from you first with an email, then they'll kind of know who I am and why I follow up again with an email. We'll keep it very comfortable. I have a little template that'll kind of lay out what an email like this how it works. The words will be different, but I think you'll get the idea. I think you'll get the sense. If you want to run it by me first before you send it out, that's fine too. So yeah, the goal here is to make it as easy as possible for someone, and to maybe have them say something that will spark the interest. So I could also say, I was checking in with you earlier about the value you found from this process, and you said some nice things about how I got you really clear about things and how things, is that something worth mentioning to them? Oh yeah, I should say that to them, right? So it's a collaboration. The principle behind all of this really is the determining who to be introduced to. It's a collaborative process. We're figuring this out together. And the same way with the introduction. Together, we're just what is going to be the best way to do this. And there's a phrase, one of the power phrases in the book that I love, and that fits in this context here is, Sam, here's what I found works the best. People like to know what works the best. And it's worked before. Well, okay. And you got to be flexible because your client, your introducer, that may not work for them. But why not have a favorite way, have a way that you know does work the best, and suggest that as first off. And then if you need to modify and figure it out after that, that's fine. But at least you stand a chance of getting a pretty good introduction.
So I'm gonna ask this question from a very selfish perspective. My son recently graduated from college. He's currently studying for his Series 7, doing very well, by the way. So talk to me about a young advisor. So you know, you're starting out. You're calling on, you're always asked, call on family and friends first. Great. We got through family and friends. A few people bought a policy. A few people, got, all right, fine. I'll get some disability insurance because I need it. How do can a young person use this strategy when they don't have that huge book of business, for lack of a better term, a credibility?
The answer is yes, absolutely. And I know that a lot of newer advisors often wonder and think it doesn't fit me yet because I don't have this, 100 clients or whatever. So a couple things. First of all, yes, it works from the very get-go. You don't have as big a critical mass of people to go to, but remember I talked about that the pool and the billiards and, one shot leads to the next. Provide good value. Yeah. Check in and make sure they're seeing value in the conversation, and then say, great, can we talk about some other folks you think should at least be aware of this value? I've got a couple ideas to run by. So that you can do from the very get-go. One other thing that makes all of this work better, and you've kind of mentioned this already, is targeting a very clear niche, or if you're from Canada, niche market. And because all of this works better. And like you said, you could go to someone and all you need is one client to be able to look at their benefits package. And then you go to others and you can say, I'm doing work with employees in XYZ Corporation. You actually have a pretty good benefits package. And there are some gaps. There are some places of exposure that you might want to look at. And I've been helping other folks in the company with that. So now you have a very relevant, credible, reason to have that conversation. And again, they know people like themselves. They know people who are in a similar situation in the company, whether they're accumulators or pre-retirees, whatever they may be. They know people like them. And so I always advocate newer advisors having a target market. You don't put all your eggs in one basket right away. You want to make sure it's going to work. It feels right. But there's no reason to wait to do that.
Yeah, I love that.
Then you can define who your market is, and you know who you're trying to contact, and you know what to say because you know more about them.
I'll even share the script that I've already kind of written in my brain that I haven't shared with my son Cameron yet. But this is exactly, and it reminded me when you were saying this, is the term that was taught to me by my mentor, Harvey McKay, many of you might know, is the phrase niche picking. And, being a professional speaker. So let's play this out. My son starts in the business. He gets going. Let's say he finds one of the products that he comes across is a disability policy that is really helps. It's broad in its nature. He talks to me about it, being a professional speaker, because Bill, you and I know we're pretty at risk, right? I mean, we only make what we when we're on stage, and if God forbid we get hit by a bus or playing softball and get hit in the face with a ball because the reactions just aren't as good anymore. We need that disability policy. My son's language can be, Sam, as a professional speaker, do you know other professional speakers whose life would be turned upside down if they couldn't be on stage? Well, yeah, I know hundreds of them, in fact. This policy we got you, do you think that would be of benefit to any of them? Yeah. Do you have any of them that, and again, I'm coming up at the top of my head based on the language you shared today, but do you know of any of them that we could do the favor of helping them with this?
Yeah. So all of that's good. And the only thing that I would change
Yeah, prove
is
it.
rather than do you know anyone who?
Yeah, you'd say, I know. Do you know Bill Cates?
Yeah,
What would happen if
exactly.
Bill couldn't be on stage? Do you
Right. So both Sam and I are in the Speakers Hall of Fame. So look at Speakers Hall of Fame,
Right.
or we're certified speaking professionals. Look at narrow the principle is narrow your request. Yeah, you mentioned that study group, that mastermind you're in, right? There's other folks you talk to, you
Yeah.
meet with. Picture those folks for a second.
Yeah.
And notice I said picture those folks. I mean, that's what we're trying to get them to do anyway.
Yeah.
So why not just say picture those folks for a minute, and then they will, and you will, and then yeah, everything you're doing is perfect, and then it's just narrowing.
But narrow it down, right? So instead of saying, "Do you know somebody?" you say, "Hey, Sam is a member of the Speaker Hall of Fame. Do you know Mary Kelly?" Well, yeah, Mary's
Right.
one of my best friends. What
Right.
would happen to Mary if she couldn't be on stage?
Yeah, well, she'd freak out, and so
Yeah, exactly.
and then I would say, assuming we come up with an approach
Yeah.
that you think will be comfortable and relevant, would you be open to making that
Yeah.
introduction?
And then
And
I'm
then you
doing
might
Mary
say,
a favor. I'm not doing Bill a favor.
for
Now I'm doing
sure.
Mary a favor.
Yeah, of
And
course.
again, I think that for lack of a better term, that script plays out with somebody who you've been working with for a while, someone who you're on a board with, someone who you volunteer with, someone who you play pickleball with. That strategy. So, are there any other questions? I don't see anybody popping their hands up, but obviously feel free to reach out to Bill directly. And Bill, one more time, how do we get this amazing not only book, but your toolkit, which I love. It's kind of an interactive book you get with this.
Yeah, and it's true. I'll give you two things. The book, languageofreferrals.com, and then my email, billcates@referralcoach.com. Let me know if you want the slides or if you have a question. Thanks, Sam. If you have a question around what we talked about, just shoot it over. Very accessible. Happy to answer it. I may have a guide or report I can send to you. So, yep, let's stay in touch.
Awesome. So I'll get this. We'll get this saved. We'll get this sent out to everybody via email. Everyone who registered will get a copy of this recording, and we'll put the links in there too, Bill, in that email of where people can go as well. So, hey, any last words?
Yeah, my last words is the work you do is so important. You help one person, you're automatically helping other people. 99.9% of the time. You're helping spouses, you're helping family members, you help a business owner feel better about their personal financial situation. They're going to be a better boss to their employees, right? There is a humongous ripple effect to the work that you do. And everything we just talked about here today has to flow from that, from you really believing in the value that you bring financial dignity to people. You help people accumulate wealth, not for them, just for themselves, but for future generations. A lot of good stuff comes out of what you do. And so that's where this comes from. And that's my why. That's why I do what I do, is to help you bring this important work to other people.
Well, you are awesome, Bill. I'm a huge fan, and you do
Thank you.
amazing work. So thank you for sharing your wisdom with everyone today.